I want to go over our review once more before we move on, and I want to recommend again that you pause the video and write this down so you have it in front of you while we go over the rest of the discussion. So, what have we determined so far? We don't want a reference to desire or preferred outcomes in our rule. The only thing good in itself is a good will. The will can be responding to duty or to inclination. The good will is one that responds to duty. Duty is created by a code, rule, or law of some sort, and following that law is how you show you respect it. However, it can't be any particular law that provides the foundation for our duty. But then, what's left? If we're looking for a law, but we can't use any particular law, are we stuck? Is there no such thing as a real ethical principle? Aha! Kant says, we can go back to our old method. Figure it out just by looking at the very concept of the thing that we're searching for. What are we looking for? We're looking for a law that we should follow no matter what. In other words, a categorical imperative that comes from the Greek categorikos, which means absolute, and the Latin imperator, which means command. So, we're just going to examine the very meaning of what it is to be an absolute command. Did you take your break and stretch and move around and get yourself a glass of water? Go do it. Okay, are you done? Here we go. Buckle your seatbelts. First, what does law mean? Don't just think of civil laws. Think of all the different kinds of laws, like laws of physics and laws of math. So you're capturing the meaning of the concept law at its most elemental. A law is a rule or pattern that holds over all applicable subject, like the Pythagorean theorem holds over all right triangles, and traffic laws hold over all drivers. Who are our applicable subjects in the case of an absolute law given by reason? Well, the law is given by reason, so it holds over every creature with reason. We know that it's a law that your will should follow, so it holds over every creature with a will. That is, every creature that can decide what to do rather than being ruled just by instinct or forces of nature. So we know that the applicable subjects in this case would be things with reason that have will. In other words, rational agents. So let's just take the information we gleaned by looking at the very concept of an absolute law given by reason and use it to figure out what the content of such a law would be. A law is a rule holding over all applicable subjects. Our applicable subjects are rational agents. So an absolute law given by your reason would just be a rule that holds over all rational agents. Kant puts it like this: I ought never to act except in such a way that I could also will that my maxim, which is the formulation of your particular action, should become universal law. That is, a law that holds over all rational agents. This is the categorical imperative. It is the law that is without exception. It applies to us under all conditions and can never be overruled by other considerations. What in the hell are you supposed to do with that? Okay, remember way back at the beginning, what did we get into this for in the first place? We were looking for a rule to guide our moral choices. When you actually make a moral choice in life, you're making a particular decision in particular circumstances. So what you do is you use the absolute law to guide you about your particular choice in that circumstance. That's what the categorical imperative is. It's a rule that you apply to all the choices available to you in a given situation. So in any specific decision you make, it has to be capable of being a rule that holds over all rational agents if it's to be in accord with your duty. That is, if it's to be an ethical decision. What does that mean? Most scholars take this to be like a decision procedure for acting morally. So what you do is, first, you make a rule that captures the action you propose to take, the outcome you hope to achieve, and the reason for the action. That is your maxim. It's a way of spelling out for yourself clearly what you intend to do and why. It's a little unnatural when you choose to take an action you don't normally spell it out so clearly like this, but part of Kant's point, and part of the point of ethics, period, is to get you to think more clearly about your actions and why you're taking them. Second, you imagine a world in which the rule you just made up for yourself in step 1 becomes a universal law of nature governing all rational agents, so that everyone would, by natural law, be bound to act as you propose to act in these circumstances. Just as firmly as we're all bound by gravity, for example, you're imagining a world in which you are making your rule for yourself in this circumstance, a rule that firmly binds everyone else, just as firmly as a law of physics. Third, you consider whether your rule is even conceivable in a world governed by that law of nature. Does your rule continue to work in that universe, or does it run up against fundamental contradictions? If it is still conceivable, then fourth, you consider whether you would or could rationally will that your rule become a universal law. If you did have the power to make your maxim hold over all other rational agents, would it make sense for you to do it? If your maxim fails, the third step, you have a perfect duty. That is, you absolutely cannot take the action you are proposing. If your rule fails the fourth step, you have an imperfect duty. You can sometimes act in the way that you're proposing, but you can't always do so. Your next assignment will go over 3 examples that will make this more clear. In our next video lecture, I'll go ahead and break down one of Kant's examples for you so that you can get a better idea of what all this means. And then you'll read about 2 other examples. After that, this should be much more clear for you. For the time being, make sure that you very carefully review this video and the video immediately before it. Email me with questions, and I will see you soon. Thank you.